Find a comfortable seated position. You can have your legs crossed, or your legs can be straight out in front of you if that's more comfortable. Bring your hands to your thighs and begin to deepen your breath. Begin to circle your head to the right. Nice slow circles. And when you go to the back, just barely tilt to the back. You don't want to drop all the way back. At the end of your next circle, reverse to the left. And at the end of your next circle, come back up to the center. Take a few deep breaths there. On your next inhalation, let your arms float up, clasp your hands, and then turn your palms up toward the ceiling. Reaching up with the hands, but keeping the shoulders out of the ears. And then on an exhale, release your hands. Let your arms float down. Clasp your hands behind you and gently reach up. And keep the shoulders down. Don't let the ribs pop out to the front. If that's happening, lower your hands a little bit. As you exhale, release your hands, bring them back to your thighs. And then tilt forward, bringing your hands to the ground in front of you. Coming down to your level of comfort. Keep your spine nice and long so that you're bringing your belly down toward your feet. You can stay up on your fingertips, on your hands, or come down to your forearms. And if the belly's on the feet, you can walk your hands all the way out, resting your head down on the ground. Walk your hands over to the right so that your torso comes over your right thigh. And again, you can be up on your fingertips, the palms of your hands, your forearms, or all the way down. Walk your hands through the center, coming over to the left so that your torso is over your left thigh. Walk yourself back to the center and take a few breaths there. As you inhale, lift your head and chest. Slide your hands back toward you, coming all the way up and bringing your hands back to your thighs. Slide your hands forward toward your kneecaps. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, press your left hand against the left knee, twisting to the right, and your gaze turns toward the right shoulder. On your next inhalation, turn back toward the center, and then as you exhale, press your right hand against the right knee, twisting to the left. On an inhalation, come back to the center. As you exhale, place your right hand on the ground beside you, lean to the right, bring your left arm over the top. Left palm faces down toward the ground. Keep that left sit bone grounded. And then let the right elbow bend so that the right shoulder can drop down out of the right ear. On an inhalation, come back up to the center. As you exhale, place your left hand on the ground beside you, leaning to the left and bringing the right arm over the top, palm facing the ground. Keep the right sit bone grounded. And then on your next inhalation, come back up to the center. Lower your hands to your thighs and take a deep breath. Make your way into child's pose. Separating your knees so that there's room for your torso to come between them, bringing your big toes together and stretching your arms out in front of you. As you inhale, come up to your hands and knees. As you exhale, lower all the way to the ground. Bring your forearms to the ground. Inhale your head and chest into a baby cobra. Continue to breathe deeply. And then on an exhalation, lower down. Bring your hands back by your ribs and push yourself back to child's pose. Keeping your hands where they are. Inhale up to hands and knees. You can walk your knees in toward each other a little bit. Exhale, lower down. Bring your forearms to the ground. Inhale into a baby cobra. Exhale, coming down. Bring your hands back by your ribs. Push yourself back to child's pose. And once again, inhale up to hands and knees. Exhale, lower down. Bring your forearms to the ground. Inhale into a baby cobra. Exhale, coming down. Bring your hands back, push back to child's pose. Inhale up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Exhale back to downward dog. You can alternate bending your knees here, slowly reaching that opposite heel down toward the ground. And then as you inhale, lower your knees to the ground. As you exhale, come back to child's pose. Inhale back to hands and knees. Exhale, downward dog. Moving slowly through the transitions. Inhale back to hands and knees. Control it. Don't let the knees drop to the ground. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, hands and knees. Tuck the toes. Exhale, downward dog. Breathing deeply there. And then walk your feet forward between your hands. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, folding forward. Bend your knees. Roll yourself up, letting your head hang so that the head comes up last. Making your way into mountain pose. Surya Namaskar A. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, folding forward, hands to shins or to the ground beside your feet. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, plant your hands, step back. Lower your knees, lowering down to the ground. Inhale into cobra or upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Deep breaths there. At the end of your next exhalation, walk your feet forward between your hands. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, coming all the way up. Exhale, arms float down. Inhale, the arms float up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, plant the hands. Step back, lower all the way down to the ground. You can lower your knees if you want. Inhale, upward dog or cobra. Exhale, downward dog. So every time we go through the sun salutations, you have the option of lowering the knees in Chaturanga, which will be the option most people will take. And if you're coming through Chaturanga without lowering the knees, just remember that if you get tired, you can always lower your knees. It's better to have a well-aligned Chaturanga than to collapse. At the end of your next exhalation, feet come forward. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, coming all the way up. And exhale, arms float down. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, lower down. Inhale into upward dog or cobra. Exhale into downward dog. Take deep, slow breaths in downward dog. Resist the urge to gasp for breath. At the end of your next exhalation, feet come forward. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, coming all the way up. Exhale, arms float down. Surya Namaskar B. Bend the knees. Inhale into chair pose. Straighten the legs. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Right foot forward, left heel down. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, coming down. Step back, lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Left foot forward, right heel down. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, coming down. Step back, lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. At the end of your next exhalation, bring your feet forward between your hands. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, folding forward. Bend your knees. Inhale into chair pose. Straighten the legs. Exhale, arms float down. Bring your hands into prayer position. Breathing deeply. Grab your blocks if you'd like them for Uttanasana or standing forward fold. Place the blocks right in front of you. Bring your hands to your hips and separate your feet hip width or a little wider. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. As you exhale, fold forward. Bringing your hands to your blocks. And then adjusting the height of the blocks as needed. Thinking of bringing your belly toward your thighs rather than the head or chest toward the legs. Engage the front of the thighs to keep those legs straight. The exception to this is if you have a hamstring injury or a knee injury, then you can have a little bend in the knees. Otherwise, keep them straight so you get a nice stretch through the hamstrings. If you've moved your blocks away, You can take your first two fingers of each hand, slide them between the big toe and second toe, and then the elbows bend out to the side. From here, if you want to move to a deeper level, you can slide the palms under the feet, bringing the toes toward the wrists. Make sure that your hips stay over the heels and you're not leaning back. As you exhale, bring your hands to your hips, and then inhale, come all the way up. Step your feet together. Bend your knees. Step your right foot back for Parsvottanasana. Straighten the left leg. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Bringing your hands to your blocks. Once again, thinking belly toward thigh. Adjust your blocks here as needed. But make sure you're supported on something, either the blocks or the floor. Press both feet firmly into the ground. As you exhale, bring your hands to your hips, and then inhale back up. Step the back foot forward. Bend your knees. Step the left foot back. Don't let that left hip rock back toward the wall behind you. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Feel as though you're unrolling onto your thigh, belly coming toward the thigh. And bringing the hands to blocks or to the ground. Maintain that length through the spine. And adjust your blocks as needed. Press both feet firmly into the ground. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, coming up. And then step that back foot forward. Moving into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Bend your knees. Step the right foot back. Inhale your arms out. Exhale, drop the left hip back, reach forward with the right arm, bringing the hand down onto the leg, either the shin or the thigh. Keep that length through the right side of the ribs so you're not curving and rounding through the ribs. Reach up with the left arm. Make sure it's not dropping back behind you. Try to bring it in line with the body. And then your gaze can be directly ahead of you. You don't have to look up toward that upper hand that creates strain in the neck for most of us. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, bend the right knee, coming into Warrior Two. Your gaze turns toward the right hand. Make sure that right knee is right over the ankle, that it's not going beyond the ankle, and it's not dropping forward. On your next exhalation, bring your right forearm onto the right thigh, left arm over the top. And gaze can be straight ahead or up toward that left wrist or hand, only if that's comfortable for your neck. You can also look down toward the floor if gazing ahead hurts your neck. Inhale up to standing, and then switch your feet for triangle on the left. On an exhalation, reach forward with your left arm, drop the right hip back, and then bring that left hand onto the left leg. Right arm reaches up toward the ceiling, but if it hurts your shoulder, just bring that right hand to the hip instead. As you inhale, come up into Warrior Two, bending the left knee, turning your gaze toward that left hand. Spine is perpendicular to the ground. Make sure you're not leaning over that left leg. On an exhale, Parshvakonasana, bring that left forearm onto the left thigh, right arm over the top. Keep pressing that right foot into the ground. You should have a nice long diagonal line from your right wrist all the way down to your right ankle. The outside of the right foot is pressing into the ground. Inhale, back up to standing. Parallel your feet. Make sure that the feet are even with each other. Inhale the arms out, Prasarita Padottanasana. Exhale, folding forward. Bring your hands to blocks or to the ground. If your hands are on the ground, you can walk them back between your feet, letting your head drop down toward the ground. Keeping your hands grounded, inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, come all the way up. Scoot your feet together. And then make your way back to the front of your mat. Moving into tree pose. Shift your weight to the right foot. And then bring that left foot up anywhere on the right leg. It doesn't have to come all the way up to the top of the thigh. You can keep the ball of the foot on the ground, or you can have the foot below the knee or above the knee. If you do bring it all the way up, make sure you don't lean forward to grab that foot. Hands are in prayer position. If your foot is against the thigh, press the foot against the thigh and the thigh back against the foot. And continue to breathe deeply. Release your foot, come back to mountain pose. Shift your weight to the left, bringing the right foot up anywhere on that leg. Hands into prayer position. Make sure both hips are facing the front. Don't let that right hip drop back toward the wall behind you. Only bring that right knee out as far as it will go with both hips facing front. For most of us, that means about 45 degrees. Exhale, come back to mountain pose. Take a deep breath. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, plant your hands, step straight back to downward dog. Bring your right knee forward between your hands, coming into pigeon pose. Lower the top of the left foot. Take a breath with the chest lifted. And then on an exhale, fold forward, bringing your head to your hands, or you can stretch your arms out in front of you, resting your forehead on the ground. As you inhale, lift your head and chest, slide or walk your hands back toward you. And taking a few breaths there with the chest lifted. Make sure the shoulders stay down. Breath is calm, deep. Tuck the back toes. With control, step back to downward dog. Bring your left knee forward between your hands. Lower the top of the back foot. Take a breath with the chest lifted. And then on an exhalation, fold forward, bringing your head to your hands or stretching your arms out in front of you. Inhale, slide your hands back, lift the head and chest, and take a few breaths there with the chest lifted, keeping the shoulders down. Tuck your back toes. With control, step back to downward dog. Slowly lower your knees to the ground and exhale back to child's pose. On an inhalation, lift your torso up. Slide your hands back so you're sitting back on your heels. And then shift your hips to one side. Bring your legs in front of you for Dandasana, staff pose. You can sit on a blanket or two or a bolster here, especially if you tend to sink back through the hips. Hands are by your sides, spine is nice and long, sit bones sinking into the ground while the crown of the head reaches up toward the ceiling. Bend the left knee, bringing the sole of the foot against the right thigh. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, begin to tilt forward. So you feel yourself rolling to the front of your sit bones. With every inhale, lengthen more through the spine. Keep the chest lifted. It's common as you fold forward for the chest to collapse toward the leg, letting the spine round. Try to keep the length through the spine as you tilt forward. If your foot is right there by your hands, you can reach to either side of your foot with your hands. Make sure that you can still have a little bend in the elbow here so that you're not having to crank your shoulders forward to reach the foot. And then if the belly does come down onto the thigh, at this point you can let the upper back round down toward the legs so that the head comes onto the shin. On an inhalation, come back up again. If you have your foot, release the foot, bring the hands to the ground and slide your hands back toward you as you come up. Straighten that left leg into Dandasana. Bend the right knee, bring the sole of the foot against the left thigh, hands to either side of the left leg. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, tilt forward. If your hands are close to your foot, you can take your hands to either side of the foot. Again, making sure you can still bend the elbows a little bit so that you're not having to push the shoulders forward to reach the foot. And if the belly is on the thigh, you can let the back round so that the head can come down to the shin. As you inhale, lift the head and chest, release the foot if you have it, bring your hands to either side of the leg. Inhale, coming back up. Straighten the right leg. Back to Dandasana. Coming into a variation of Marjachasana C. Bend the left knee, bringing the sole of the foot to the ground. Inhale the right arm out. Exhale, wrap around that left shin. Bring your left hand behind you and turn your head toward your left shoulder. Exhale, come back to the center. Straighten that left leg into Dandasana. Bend the right knee, bringing the sole of the foot to the ground. Inhale the left arm out. Exhale, wrap around the right shin. Bring the right hand behind you and turn your gaze toward the right shoulder. Exhale back to the center. Straighten that right leg and back to Dandasana. And bring the soles of your feet together for Baddha Konasana. Take your thumbs right beneath the balls of the feet. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, tilt forward, bringing your belly toward your feet. Every time you inhale, lengthen through the spine. And then as you exhale, you can fold forward a little more deeply into the pose if your body will allow. On an inhalation, bring your torso back up. Reach to the outside of the knees, bring them toward each other, and then slide your legs out into a V for Upavishta Konasana. Bring your hands in front of you. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, tilt forward. On an inhalation, bring your torso back up again, sliding your hands back toward you. Reach to the outside of your legs. Bring your legs together and back to Dandasana. Coming into Ardha Navasana, half boat pose. Scooch yourself off of your blanket or bolster if you're on one. And then bend your knees, clasp behind your thighs. Rock back a little bit so just your toes are on the ground. And then very slowly lift your shins until they're parallel to the ground. You have the option of releasing your legs, holding your arms out to the side of your legs, palms facing each other. And then bring your feet back down to the ground. Make your way onto your back for bridge pose. Feet are about hip width apart. Take a deep breath in. Press your feet into the ground, clasp your hands, and then roll your shoulders toward each other. On an exhale, release your hands and roll yourself back down to the ground. Take a deep breath there. From here, we'll move into our reclined twist. I like to put a blanket between my knees here. If your knees don't touch each other as you lower them to the ground, it's nice to have a blanket between the knees. On an exhale, lower your knees over to the right. Your arms are out to the side in a T with the palms facing up. As you inhale, bring the knees back up again. And as you exhale, lower the knees to the left. Inhale, bring the knees back up to the center. If you have a blanket between the knees, place it to the side. Bring your feet back down to the ground. Moving into bridge on a block. Grab your block, press your feet into the ground, lift your hips. Slide the block right beneath the sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of the spine. And then you have the option to take your legs up toward the ceiling. Legs are perpendicular to the ground. Make sure your pelvis is not tilting back so that you're on the back edge of the block. You want your sacrum to be lying on the block. And on an exhale, bend the knees. And then lower your feet to the ground, one foot at a time. Take a few breaths there. And then press your feet into the ground, lift your hips, slide the block out, and roll yourself down. Straighten both legs out. And then bend your right knee in toward the chest. Either strap right beneath the ball of the right foot or take the right big toe with the first two fingers of your right hand. Straightening that leg, coming into Supta Padangusthasana. If you have a strap, the right arm is straight, right hand is on the strap, and you're sliding that right shoulder down toward the ground. Take your left hand onto your left hip and slowly open the right leg out to the right side, keeping that left hip grounded. On an inhalation, bring the leg back to the center. And then bend that knee. Take your left hand to the outside of the right knee and bring the knee over to the left. Your gaze can be up toward the ceiling or to the right. Inhale the knee back up. Lower the foot to the ground. Slide it out straight. Bend the left knee in toward your chest. Either strap right beneath the ball of the left foot or grab the left big toe with the first two fingers of your left hand. And then straighten that leg up toward the ceiling. Engage the front of that left thigh to straighten through the left leg. And then bring your right hand onto your right hip. Take the left leg out to the left side, keeping that right hip grounded. Inhale the leg back up. Bend your knee. Take your right hand to the outside of the left knee and bring the knee over to the right. Inhale the knee back up. And then lower the foot to the ground. And bend the right knee so that both knees are bent. Soles of feet on the ground. And then bring your knees in toward your chest for Apanasana. Palms are on kneecaps with the fingers facing forward. The knees come in toward you as you exhale. And they drop away from you as you inhale. Continue with your breath at your own pace. After your next cycle of that, release your feet back down to the ground. Take a few deep breaths there. And then slide your legs out for Shavasana, supporting as you like. Release control of the breath, letting your breath return to its natural pattern. And letting yourself sink into the stillness of the pose. Slowly begin to deepen your breath. And gently stretch yourself out. If you have room, you can reach your arms over your head and stretch your arms and legs away from each other. And then bend your knees. Roll yourself to one side. Take a few breaths there. Press your hands into the ground, pushing yourself up to a seated position, letting your head come up last. Bring your hands together, breathing deeply. Namaste.